been great getting to talk to you, getting to know someone here at the company a little better. Drop me a line, shoot me your resume, and we'll be in touch, all right?
Yeah, good one. You said resume.
Yeah, send it to me.
Oh, wait, you're serious?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't do that type of thing. But I have Facebook.
Oh, man.
I think I might have a MySpace still. I'm not positive. Friend me.
30 years ago when I would interview, there was fewer candidates for more jobs. And I think it was easier to get in the door. It's much different now. Now there's fewer jobs with a lot of candidates.
Welcome to the curriculum unit on resume building. Now let's take a minute and review where we've been in the process. We started with a strength assessment. From that, we've built a mentoring plan so that you can interview 3 mentors. We've done essays, and now we're going to do a resume. Now it's time for the big so what. Why do we do the things that we do? Many ideas will die in the vine if we don't nourish them, and other ideas won't grow unless we put action behind them. It's our purpose now to make your path more clear. Building a resume is one such example. We often ask ourselves, what do successful people look like? Well, the one thing they have in common is the ability to articulate who they are, and they do it in a convincing manner. There are many ways to do this: talking, a web page, and writing. For example, a resume. Let's go into more detail about this. The resume has always been, and probably always will be, the primary vehicle for getting a job. You know, it's not enough just to know something about a job. You have to be able to sell yourself. This is your first sales job. The primary objective of the resume is simply to get someone's attention. Yes, you could do this with a different color font or larger print, but that's really not what they're looking for.
For every position, I'll probably see in the neighborhood of 10 resumes for that position. I'll look through those and I'll look for the thing that seems to pop. What is the thing that takes it to the top?
Did you ever notice that they use the most exciting part of a movie to make the trailer? Well, that's obvious, because they want to create the interest so that you come to see the movie. Well, you know what? It's no different than with a resume. They want to create enough interest so that the person reading it will ask you for an interview.
The purpose of the resume is to get my attention and get you in the door for the interview. The interview is really where I'm going to make the hiring decision.
Let's talk about branding for a second. Now, I'm not talking about the mark that they put on a cow at a ranch. I'm talking about a business concept. For a business to succeed, they have to have a clear sense of what their statement is. You might call that a mission statement. What do you think of when you think of McDonald's? Probably you think about the Golden Arches and Ronald McDonald. But you know what? McDonald's wants you to think about other things. Things like reasonable food, clean restaurant, family-oriented. These are all important parts of the McDonald brand. Now, you may be saying, Mr. Hall, what has this got to do with a resume? And I understand the question. But you need to realize that you need to sell yourself just like companies sell an iPhone or hamburgers. It basically comes down to your strengths, or you might say that's your brand. What are the types of resumes? Well, the most common is chronological, where we start with your most recent experience and then work backward. And then there's a functional resume, where we take all of your experience centered around a particular topic. For example, communications or technological skills. And that's regardless of what your job title was. The functional resume is used more often when you're trying to branch into a new aspect of your career, because you want to focus on your collective skills, not on a particular job title. In your materials, you'll be given a resume template in soft copy. What you can do is download it and begin to make it your own. All you have to do is backspace over each section and replace the name with your name, replace the address with your address. This really is the easiest way to do it. This is the only time where I really don't care if you cheat. Now bear in mind, I'm talking about the format, not the content of the resume.
Email me your resume.
Actually, I have it right here. There you go.
Oh, I just need the one copy.
Yeah, this is one copy. It's pretty comprehensive.
Man, the weight of your birth? 2nd grade?
I'm kind of a big deal.
In reality, I'd like you to bring your own creativity into this project. You need to strike a balance. You want to be creative enough that you're going to draw attention to your resume, but you don't want to be strange enough that you appear to have 2 left feet. It is a balance and you need to strike it and you need to make it work for you. Let's talk about some guidelines for style and grammar. You know, as with most things, style really does matter. What you say and how you look really does make a difference. And by the way, even if you don't have a strong message, it's still a message. It's just not a very good one.
I'm sorry. Can I try again?
KISS. Now, I'm not talking about a romance novel. I'm talking about keep it simple, stupid. What does that mean? It just means that you keep your message simple. You don't go on and on for pages about detail that really isn't important. You're trying to sell yourself, and you want to make it easy for the person reviewing your resume to make a decision. Experience. How do I know what to include in the way of experience? Well, in the beginning, students don't have a lot of experience, so you need to ask yourself, what are my life skills, and how do they relate to the job that's being offered?
The fact that they listed they were a busboy for this particular restaurant or something, instead of just telling me you did that, tell me how you've impressed your customers, how you went above and beyond to make sure that you were providing customer satisfaction, those kind of things. Not just that you're a busboy. I know what a busboy does, but why were you a special busboy? What really differentiated you there?
If you worked at a coffee shop and your job was to reorder supplies, then you managed inventory. There's a difference. Do you see the responsibility that we're talking about? Use action verbs. Avoid using words like assisted or participated in or worked with. You want to think about accomplishment. How did you make a difference? What you did make a difference, and you need to think about that. Give a brief introductory statement for each employer that you worked for. Don't assume that people understand or know the name of the company and what they did. Help them to understand it. Use bold and italics. This is just like doing a painting. That's why artists always put lights against darks. Use bullets to organize your thoughts. Use indentation. There's nothing more boring than words that scroll down the page in one column. If you're trying for an internship in graphic arts, then it probably doesn't matter if you did babysitting, although I still would include it because it is a part of your work history. But what you want to do is to think about opportunities that you've had that are relevant to that particular job. For example, maybe you volunteered time at school, or maybe you did menus for your sister's restaurant. These are the things you want to focus on. What awards have you received? Did you ever make honor roll? Did you ever receive an art award? Be prepared to talk about these accomplishments in your interview. Can you explain why they make a difference? Who is your audience? You want to ask yourself that question and then write your resume to the level of the person who's going to be reading it. Being funny may make you popular, but employers really don't care about it. One way you may describe it is that you have strong communication skills that make people feel comfortable. If they ask you about it, then you can explain that you have a great sense of humor. What you're doing now does matter. It shows that you have the initiative to learn about a career that you're interested in. Let me put it this way. If 10 people are being interviewed for a job and you're the only one who can say, may I show you my webpage and talk about my independent research, who do you think is going to get the attention? In the resume template that you'll be given, there's a format for describing your independent research. Feel free to use it and just change it up to make it your own. Now, if you want to change it completely, make sure you include the scope and the names of your mentors. And whatever you do, don't forget to ask your mentors permission to use their names. At this point, I imagine that you're probably wishing you had asked more questions of the mentor. That's a good thing. What it's showing is that you're trying to translate your experience into the experience of the career. When you call the mentor, make sure you ask if you can use them as a reference. What you're beginning to do now is develop your own network. That's how the game's played.
I look for three things on a resume, and the three things that I look for is the objective of the candidate, the skill set of the candidate, and the qualifications of the candidate. An objective is what they want to get out of their career. What are they looking for next? Just give me some orientation to what it is that you want to do when you grow up.
Do the research on the company. This resume could be going specifically to that company, so customize it for the company you're sending it to, right?
Good point. Customize where you can.
Some people believe that it's a good practice to start a resume with an objective section. If you choose to do this, you want to make sure that you tailor that section to the requirements of the job. What you're basically doing is a map from your experience to the job experience. It's a good practice to include a skills section in your resume, and this serves multiple purposes. You know, the reviewer may be looking at 50 resumes and it becomes very difficult, so you want to make your skills very clear and easy to understand. This includes hard skills like programming or technical skills, and it also includes soft skills like how to manage people. Keep in mind that resumes are often scanned. What does that mean? Well, that means that computers are configured to look for keywords. So if a keyword is not included in your resume, you may lose the opportunity to even have it looked at. Later in the program, you'll be doing a personal web page. For right now, I'd just like you to be aware of the fact that you should include a link to that web page on the resume, and on the web page, you want to have a copy of your resume. What you're doing is you're cross-referencing your experience. You're creating your story in multiple venues, and that's what it's all about. There are many schools of thought on the length of a resume. The traditional standard has always been 2 pages, but that probably is for people who have a fair amount of experience. For students, I would say 1 page is probably enough. So what you want to keep in mind is you want to use your white space, which is your carriage returns, where the spaces, line spaces, you want to use that generously between the text so that the entire page is filled.
Let's summarize what we have learned. What is a resume? A resume is just another way of telling your story. The only difference is the resume tells the story of your work history. It is important to know the purpose of a resume. It is very simple. A resume's primary purpose is to get the attention of the reader so that you will be invited for an interview. This means that your resume needs to grab the attention of your reader, and there are several ways to do this. The resume is the primary tool that industry uses to recruit for jobs, which is why it is important to write a convincing story. Branding is the way that businesses associate a particular message with their product. In a similar way, you need to think about your personal brand. What is the unique message that will help to sell you? Is your message clear in your resume? Types of resumes. There is more than one type of resume, and there are many formats, so do not get overwhelmed by this. More important is the message within your resume. Is it convincing? The most common type of resume is chronological, which means that you start with your most recent job and work back in chronological order. It's the way that most people think. A functional resume organizes your experience by function rather than by date. Since you are a student and because you do not have a lot of experience, it is fine to focus on the chronological resume. Your writing style is important. The KISS method tells us to keep it simple. Remember, your reader does not know what you already know, so you want to clearly describe your experience. Use action verbs and avoid vague phrases such as assisted with the function. Ask yourself, what is it that you clearly accomplished? Don't forget to use creative techniques like italics and underlining keywords or phrases. Your audience is important. Write to a level that is appropriate for your audience so that you get your reader's attention. Don't forget to include your career mentoring research in your resume. It is important to show that you are capable of working independently and able to gain experience in a field. There are different schools of thought about the length of a resume. Most people agree that a resume should be no longer than 2 pages. As a student, 1 page is perfectly acceptable. You will be provided a resume template that will make it easy for you to translate your experience into an acceptable format. Good luck!